Hey, Jason. Hey, congratulations for Mr. Birthday.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm proud of it. I love it.
It looks like you had a lot of fun on this project.
It was not a single not a single bad moment. It was just wonderful across the board. It was great.
Terrific. So let's start off with that obligatory easy question. What initially attracted you to this project for Mr. Birthday?
Doing something for the kids. It's not often you get an opportunity to do something for kids, and then especially something so poignant. And I guess a lot of people, you know, don't realize that there are a lot of kids out there that kind of get stranded on their birthday, and they had a beautiful idea of taking the kids wildest fantasies and making it happen for them and giving them a better birthday than they would have had if they had a bunch of strangers come to their birthday. And so it was a beautiful concept, and it was also the opportunity to just be silly, to just have as much fun as we can. Like I said, I got not a big Halloween costume guy, but I got to dress up in so many things that I covered like the next 8 or 9 Halloweens. So I'm good.
That is actually pretty funny. Do you often work with kids on projects?
Well, very often there are kids on the project, but it's not often a project for the kids. And so there's a difference with that. A lot of times I've done a lot of pretty dramatic movies with kids, and it's really amazing how the kids that are just naturals, how wonderful they are. Even the girl who plays my daughter in the movie, she has a pretty sad moment whenever her nobody, because we just moved to a new school, so she doesn't have a lot of friends yet, so it's her birthday, and luckily her best friend is there for her. But she was just incredible as well. It's you can't, this is not something you can teach. It's something that's either natural or it's not. And she was a natural, and I've been lucky enough to work with so many wonderful kids. I got to work with Reese Witherspoon on her very first movie when she was 14 years old. She was mind blowing.
I know. What wasn't the old saying is never to work with children and animals, but it seems like children are.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times they'll say children, animals, and old people, and I had nothing but joy with all of those things, and so I've never had an issue with the animals. Can be a little difficult sometimes, but children and old people have always been nothing but a joy. Sometimes the kids will have a lot of that frenetic energy where they run around a little bit too much and they try to play around with you, and if you play back with them, then you just started something. Oh no, it's like throwing a ball to the dog and the dog has to get it and come back and get it. So I learned a long time ago is I don't talk to kids like they're kids. I expect them to sort of be professionals, and I give them the respect that they deserve. Talk to them like the adults, or talk to them like they're mature, not like they're immature.
So when you work with, I believe her name is Charlotte. She was very very professional and fun to work with throughout this entire thing.
She was just incredible. She was a joy to be around at all times. And she laughed at all my stupid jokes.
Stupid jokes.
My dad jokes. That's, you have to make dad jokes if you're playing a dad.
So was it easy to get in the headspace of Goofy Barry throughout the entire film? It seems like you're a very funny person, so you could just turn that on.
I basically just took the opportunity because not often do I get to, people that know me in real life know that I'm a bit of a goofball, but most of the time the movies I do or whatever, you got to either play like the stoic guy or the cowboy, or especially as I'm getting older, like the more facial hair I have, the older I play, and so it was basically me just getting to play me. I just got to go, just it's an opportunity to just go have a blast. And so that's what we did.
I know. I was watching this film, and I thought you genuinely love kids and birthdays. That's for sure.
That was another thing. It was such a pleasure to be, because in a lot of the the scenes with the kids that it was their birthday. These were kids that were sort of local kids there, and they couldn't, they were a little freaked out about being on movie sets. And so what I try to do is I try to make them feel as comfortable as they can before we ever even start filming. So I goof off with them, and ask them questions about themselves, and just we just try to have fun, and I try to just relax them and make them have fun. So, hey man, when we do this scene, you play those drums as hard as you can, or whatever it would be, and then they go, oh my gosh, I get the opportunity to do that, it's so cool. And so when you make them, when they're relaxed and they don't feel intimidated, because I'll tell you, I remember my first day on a movie set, I was terrified. In fact, I questioned why I was even there. And all I wanted to do was go home. And then by the end of the day, when we had finally done the day, it wasn't scary to me anymore. But man, before we started, it was terrifying. So you see these kids show up, and they're just kind of like, and you're like, oh no, come here, relax, man, relax. And so you just try to get them to relax and have fun.
If you don't mind me asking, what was that first day on a movie set?
It was The Man in the Moon. It was Reese Witherspoon's first movie. It was my first audition that I ever went on in my life, and I ended up getting the part somehow, playing Court Foster, and what I think is one of the most beautiful movies ever made. And Reese Witherspoon gave, in my opinion, the greatest performance by a 14-year-old child in cinematic history, and that's saying a lot. And which is why she is Reese Witherspoon to this day. And so it was my first movie, and we did like a month of rehearsals before we started it, but they didn't have a lot of cameras and lights and stuff. They had some cameras and stuff, but they didn't have all the big trucks coming in and all the other, actors that I'd seen in movies before and all of that. And so the first day I went, oh, so I was in my trailer and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. And Robert Mulligan, who was the director, he was the director of To Kill a Mockingbird. He's one of the, the heroes. And he comes in my trailer and he goes, I hear you're nervous, kid. And I'm like, yeah, Mr. Mulligan, I don't understand why I'm here. There's all these professionals here, and there's people that have done this before, and I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, kid, we've been rehearsing for a month. He goes, if I see you acting, I'll yell cut. Film is cheap. And so he just made me feel like comfortable that if I messed up, we could do it again. And so he was great like that. So he took away the nerves to the point of where once I got on the set, I was still terrified, but I was able to like not show it, I guess.
How long did it take for you to get over that, or did you have like
I think I will be honest. By the end of the day, they made everything so wonderful and so fun, and it was so fascinating because you got to remember that back whenever I started, this is whenever they were the big giant 35 millimeter cameras, all of the big giant equipment lights. Right now, everything's like tiny compared to what it was. So it was all this, it was like the circus. And so it was just fascinating to see, because also, like being a person that loved movies, also being on the movie set and seeing that's how they do that. That's how they do that. Whoa, that's really cool. I never knew. So then once you got to learn how they do stuff, like even setting up like dolly tracks, and the way that they dealt with the actual film, because we had 35 millimeter film, the way that they work with the mags on that, and they would do the thing called checking the gate, where they made sure there wasn't a squiggly hair going up through it, which is something we don't have to worry about these days, but back in the day, whenever they processed the film, somebody's in the factory's hair could have been on it. So they had to always do this thing where they checked it after they did it. And if there was a hair in the gate, is what they called it, you'd have to go back and completely do the scene again. So it was interesting. It was fascinating to me. And so after being there in the trenches, whenever it was old school style, once everything turned to the sort of digital medium and everything, man, it flows like silk now. That's why we make movies in half the time that we used to make films, because back then it was the setup that took so long. It wasn't the filming of the movie. It was, it took an army back then, and now you can do a movie, like we probably had 30 crew members on this, and they rock and roll, they made it happen. You know, that's what in the movie looks great. You would never know it.
Well, I'm glad you basically prolong that experience and then translate that on mentoring these kids into that transition to movies.
You know, I love it, and that's another one of the things too. As an acting coach, I love working with kids. A lot of people are a little scared too, but I just think there's this raw canvas that you can make sure that they get the good advice in the beginning instead of bad advice, because there are a lot of people out there that there's not even a reason for them to be an acting teacher, and they're for some reason they are, and just the advice that they're giving these kids is not correct, I would say. So it's good to, you know, there'll be things whenever if I'm doing a scene with the kid and I feel like they're not quite understanding like a beat. Sorry about the noise. I live in Mississippi. If there's something that they're not getting, like a beat that they're missing or whatever, the directors that I've worked with, they always truly appreciate it. And I always talk to them before and I say, listen, you know, are you okay if, because, you know, some directors out there don't want an actor directing other actors. But when it comes to kids, there are a lot of directors that are terrified to do it. They're not really quite sure what to say. So I always take the kiddo to the side and give them a little encouragement and say, hey man, you know, you get to keep relaxed about this. And, you know, on this one, you get to really like be excited, and you get to, you know, when this one, if you want to be angry, man, give it to me, be really angry. And so kids really love it, you know, whenever, and directors are like, I've had them come to me before. I've had one come to me before, and he goes, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Can you help me here with this? And I was able to go, and then we came back, and, you know, the kid knocked it out of the park, and he was like, love you. Thank you.
So on something like this, do you have to be very flexible and improvise quite a bit, or you could stick to the script?
Well, the script was good enough that we didn't have to go crazy on like changing things a lot. What we got to do was use exactly what was on the page, and then go ahead and add some stuff, because you know, if there was something else that you wanted to add or something else you wanted to do that was goofy, you know, then there was no reason to not do it or try it, you know. And so we ended up having a lot of fun with it. There was one scene where I'm jumping on this dumpster, trying to like get all the stuff down in the dumpster, and this poor kid on the crew, he didn't realize that we were going to do that. He pulled the little pegs that keep it from rolling, and it was kind of on a hill, and you can kind of see a little clip of it in the movie. But I'm riding on top of this dumpster, and in the middle of the take, it starts rolling down the hill with me on top of it, and then it hits like this thing, and just as it flips, I like jumped off and just started walking down the street, and they just kept it rolling, and everybody on the set was like, they applause, you know, like, I can't believe that just happened. And the poor kid that, you know, pulled those pegs on it, he was just like, oh no, I can't believe it. And I went up and just knuckled him. I was like, dude, I know that you didn't mean to, and also that made for a really cool shot. So you know, it's like, don't worry. He's like, oh, I thought you were gonna be mad at me. Like, no, dude, never.
Well, you certainly did have a lot of fun doing a lot of your own stuff on this thing. Yeah. But one last thing was you got to ride and drive around that little cycle vehicle. What was that? Was that hard?
Okay, it's made for traveling. It was made for 6 people pedaling at the same time, and it would be just me and my daughter pedaling. And so what, you know, if it was a flat surface, it was actually fairly easy to do. You just had to make sure, the first time we tried, it wouldn't move. And then they finally figured out all the brakes were on in the back. So once they released the brakes, actually, if it was a flat surface, it wasn't really that hard to drive. But there would be a couple of times when it'd be, say, like going up a driveway or whatever. So they would have it framed where we had a couple of our crew boys behind, you know, giving us a little boost up the hill. So that's, you know, the teamwork makes the dream work kind of thing. That was one of those examples. Yeah. Those little secrets that nobody knows. It's like, there's somebody pushing that thing from behind. That's why it's, but when I first saw it, I was like, Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's going to be fun. But it was a blast. It was. It truly was.
Well, this film is a blast, and you
Thank,
you show it. Thank you very
thank you.
much, Jason, for carrying this conversation with us. Hopefully, I get to do this next time with you.
Thank you so much. And I want to say to the families out there, especially at Christmas time, sit the whole family down and watch the movie together. It's one that everybody will love across the board. All right. Thank you so much, man.
Most definitely. Thank you.
All right.